In the modern era, Sonic games release to mixed success and reception as Sega experiments with the Sonic formula. Trying to have a conversation about Sonic the Hedgehog these days is like opening a can of worms that not even the early bird would want to get into. Shadow Generations is the most fun that I've had with a Sonic game in years, and in my opinion, it's everything that a Sonic game should be. The game follows Shadow as he attempts to defeat Black Doom, his creator, and escape White Space, a realm unaffected by time, to return to his own world. Before we go any further, let's address the hedgehog-sized elephant in the room. No, not you, elephant-sized hedgehog. Oh, well, that was uncalled for. You might have noticed that I haven't mentioned the Chaos Emeralds yet. Unlike in most other Sonic games, the Chaos Emeralds are irrelevant here. Instead, Shadow's given an entirely new moveset to reflect his new Doom powers awakened by his space alien lineage, and these serve as the game's main gimmicks. You have Doom Spear, which lets you hit up to 5 targets at once with projectiles, Doom Surf, which lets you navigate across water, Doom Morph, which lets you navigate through the ooze, and Doom Wings, which makes it harder to play pin the tail on our favorite emotionally repressed hedgehog. The most obvious appeal of the game is its presentation, and who better to start with than Shadow? His new model is amazing and full of life, with texture on his fur and gloves and reflections on his wrist and ankle rings. The levels themselves also look fantastic. Your introduction to the game is a close look at the sleek, futuristic technology hanging far over the Earth in the cold and bottomless vacuum of space, and if that isn't a lasting first impression, then I'm sure the awkward things I've said to other people aren't either. The stages are bright and colorful, and with a camera that follows you inside, outside, and through the stratosphere, there's no shortage of good views. And the music? Yes, that is the song that plays on the title screen. How did you know? Look, I know the music is one of the main selling points of a Sonic game, but it goes ridiculously hard here. And I don't mean for one stage, I mean for the entire game. This song you're listening to right now, this isn't even one of the level themes, it's one of the songs that plays on the hub world. Thankfully they aren't playing all the time because prolonged exposure to this kind of heat would probably cause my PS4 to go up in flames. You're laughing. My PS4 is on fire and you're laughing. Shadow Generations is dynamic. It's fluid and intuitive, confidently easing you into Shadow's new mechanics. The stage transitions are seamless, handling gameplay with grace, and the levels are long but rewarding. The game even builds upon ideas introduced in previous Sonic games. Sonic Heroes, for example, had very ambitious level design with different gimmicks sprinkled throughout to keep the gameplay interesting, but every team had overlapping moves. Shadow Generations took a different approach to this problem by giving Shadow an entirely new moveset. Sonic Adventure 2 was known for its alternate routes that could be used to save time or find secrets, which return in Shadow Generations. This approach helps the game stay consistent with the level of high-speed platforming that popularized the franchise. In addition to the standard levels, there are also challenge acts, shorter stages with specific goals like collecting a certain number of rings or defeating a certain number of enemies. You're required to beat these stages to get boss keys that will let you face off against the bosses. Each boss in this game is a villain from a different time in Shadow's past, and they're all given a fresh coat of paint with these new graphics, but what I like the most is that the bosses use new abilities and have new transformations. Some of these combat sequences are just outrageous, but in a this is so ridiculous that it's awesome kind of way. It got to the point where these became full-on anime battles and I could leave to get a drink in the middle of them. The game itself is pretty easy, but the difficulty increases near the end of the game with Radical Highway featuring harder and longer levels. Chaos Control lets you freeze time for 5 seconds, but you're locked out of using it in these stages and the ranking system becomes stricter. At the end of every stage, you're given a letter rank from S to D that is mostly dependent on how quickly you reach the goal, and if you aren't careful on Radical Highway, it's very easy to get a D rank. There are also obstacles that follow closely behind each other, punishing those who rely too much on boosting without paying attention to remind you that if you leap without a net, you'll find it will be a very painful fall down. It's impossible to get a game over since the live system isn't in this game, so you're free to experiment as you please, but be careful, you might have so much fun that the game ends up playing you instead.
Yeah, who has no games now?
Shadow Generations is a very short game that you can beat in a few hours, which begs the question, what is there to do afterwards? You may be incentivized to replay previous levels to unlock new artwork and music from the chests scattered across the hub world. However, a less obvious choice is replaying the levels to get a better understanding of the level design. Kingdom Valley Act 1 is probably my favorite level in the game. Around halfway through the act, you are required to stomp on a rope to jump higher than you would normally be able to. If you replay the stage with this in mind, you will soon discover alternate routes that you never knew existed, opening up dozens of different ways to complete just one stage. There's even one available right at the start of the level if you choose to stomp on the first rope you see. Rail Canyon Act 1 also provides great examples of alternate routes. Small cars carrying bombs will blow up the rails beside you, preventing you from using them, and you're introduced to this after you're able to use Chaos Control. You might think to use Chaos Control to stop them from destroying another set of rails a few seconds later, and if you do, you'll open up an alternate route. If you miss this on your first playthrough, the level gives you Chaos Control sparingly, and you can use it to stop the flow of a giant fan pushing you up and travel to a lower route. And if you miss that, then you might spot a green portal, which is an obvious indication to use Chaos Control. This will let you travel through a stream of energy and save quite a bit of time. Even in a fairly linear game like this, you still get rewarded with faster routes and extra content for choosing to explore. You can even choose to complete the hard versions of the challenge acts and the boss fights. It might sound like I've repeated myself a few times, but it goes to show how intertwined the features of this game are to create an atmosphere unlike any other. If you're a Sonic fan and you haven't played this game yet, I could not recommend it enough. I intend on making more content like this in the future, so if you like what you see, why not consider subscribing? It would go a long way to helping out the channel, and you would never miss another upload. Thanks for watching.